Good day, everyone. This is Chris G here. We've got an exciting episode today with Hard Hat CEO. We're going to be talking about branding. I'm going to talk about branding with a lady from Uganda, and her name is Prima Jope. Prima is the voice of the self-funding Tiny Power brand, and also the Profit Change Maker movement. So please help me welcome Prima. Prima, how you doing today?
Very well, Chris. It's such an honor to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get going here? I know you're in Uganda and you do branding, you do a lot of other stuff too.
The best way I like to start on shows is like just give a quick rundown of like how we even got here.
Well, start
Like
running.
as Chris already shared, I am born and raised in Uganda, and it's very funny because when I grew up, my dad was very keen with success and how to get it and what to do, what not to do. And so he had this code going on that he handed over to us. And success was supposed to be go to school, become a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor. And anything besides that meant that you had failed. So I had to think about success in that way. But the funny thing is, as I grew up, I didn't quite like the version of success that my dad had for me, but I didn't really know like what was success supposed to look like for me. So I remember going to school, I remember getting a degree in engineering, and I remember getting an engineering job, going on to be like an employee in a company that was doing 3 billion. And I remember sitting on my computer one day and saying, like, really? Like, is this success? It doesn't feel like success to me. Like, I always wanted to do business. And so 6 years after I had done that job, I was like, you know what, Dad? I've given you success. I have an MBA. Everything you want, you have. I'm going on to do my own thing. So I left the job. I started the job. I started my own business. And I did that for was it 4 years or something. And then COVID came and crashed that business down. And so I had nothing. And I had to think, do I go back to that version of success or what? And then I discovered that I could come online and somehow build a brand. And I was like, a brand? Like, who wants to listen to someone from Uganda, a country where people are just starving? Like, who cares about Uganda, a place with no roads, no internet? Like, who wants to learn about anything from, someone like me? And I was there thinking, like, who really cares? And I remember going to this seminar. There was a guy called Nick Vian something. The guy has no arms, he has no legs. And he was screaming on top of his head and talking about how you can do what you want to do no matter what the reason is you think that you shouldn't be in that place. And I remember him saying I could be crying about myself and I have no legs and no arms, and I could really be crying about that and begging on the streets. Or I could just step in and really help people and make other people see that you can do whatever you want to do. And it doesn't matter who you are and where you're from. And I remember deciding that day that I was a brand, that I had a story to share, and that being someone from Uganda was actually a good thing. And I don't remember, Chris, if I ever went back from there. I went in the wild, started sharing my message, and people would be like, "You're doing this from Uganda? Oh my God, I want to listen." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, what I learned really very quickly is that whatever it is that stops you from being qualified for this work, whatever work you're being called to do, is the very reason that you probably need to step in and go all in. I've done this for 6 years, helped clients from over 30 countries, and up to now, I don't have a big brand, but it is that tiny brand that pays its bills and leaves the impact that is enough for me. So I'm really excited to be sharing whatever I can about that today.
Well, the fact that you're from Uganda, very
Yeah.
successful, and in theory, we have it easier here in the United States, I would assume, based on our economies and our government, that I think the fact that you can do it means anybody can do it, right? Is that kind of the gist of the fact you're from Uganda? That they can, that is that the uniqueness?
If
Or
I
what do you
can
think
do
that,
this,
yeah,
for me, I think that if I can somehow follow my life's work and follow my calling and make a business, a living out of it with
Yeah.
the least resources on the planet. I think that a lot of people have it better and they could be doing much better than they're doing right now.
You ever tell some of your clients that? You said they're from how many different
That's
countries?
over 30 countries. And they all tell me that when they see me doing this work from Uganda, they're like, you know
Yeah.
what, I need to get out of my own way. I'm in New
Yeah.
York City,
There
I
you
have
go.
everything, and I am still complaining. And so a lot of my clients hire me because they're like, how do you do this from Uganda? I'm like, you gotta be resourceful. You gotta open the doors that are not open. You have to tap in yourself and in your mind decide that there is some mental work that you have to do, and you have to just go for whatever the thing you want, even if there's no evidence of that thing being done in front of you.
One of the topics in my notes here is that you talk about being the best kept secret in your industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't want to be a secret, right? We want everybody to know who we are. So is that part of the branding, getting yourself out there?
The best kept secret is something I came up with when I realized that in the marketplace, there were all these people who had like the best copy, the best marketing, and they knew what to say, and they could sell anything they wanted, Chris. And I was sitting there
Hmm.
looking at them and going, no one even needs that. Like, why aren't people buying life altering solutions? Why aren't people buying solutions for their marriage? Why aren't people buying all these amazing things? Because every client I worked with, I realized they were very good at what they did. Give them a client and they will change their client's life. But tell them talk about what they do and they won't do it. Like they don't know what to say. They're like, I don't want to sell. They feel very awkward about talking about what they do. But then there are these marketers that know what to say. They say all the right things and they say whatever they want, even if no one wants it. And so I picked a lot of interest in people that were coming to me because they were not the best talkers, but they were the best implementers behind the scenes. They were changing lives. And so we came up with that name, Best Kept Secret, because I feel like the best kept secrets are the people that need to lead the industry. But right now, they're behind closed doors and no one knows them. And the marketplace is being led by all these people who have all the words to say, even though their heart may not be in the right place. And so I have a community on school and it's full of best kept secrets. So people who know they have gifts, they are trying to leave a footprint in this world. They've gone through some experiences, they've developed a system around that experience, and they're trying to help another human being. I have this community for them where they come in and they just support each other to put their work in the marketplace, even though they may be the worst marketers. I just support them, support each other to get clients. It's kind of a big deal for me right now.
You're talking about the people who had the right thing to say. Well, that it's hard. You can't really say that they're not authentic all the time. Now, some of them aren't, and some of them are, right? But the ones that you're talking about,
Yeah.
that are secrets, aren't. They're very good at what they do. They're just not good at promoting themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's not like every marketer is bad for sure. I love marketers, but there is a lot of things that get bought in the marketplace just because people know what to say. And there's all these people who are best kept secrets who have no idea how to market what they do, but they could be changing lives. And I'm like, can I hold a microphone for everybody? Can I say enough about these best kept secrets? Can I put them in the same place? And can I say, well, watch, we have the best talent over here. Let's support them. I even have a podcast where I interview them and help them put their work in the market. Like I think my passion for that goes so deep because I look at myself and I go, I would have been in Uganda as the world's indeed best kept secret, dying in a 9 to 5, trying to have success like my dad wanted it. And I don't know how somehow I got my nose out and started to do what I wanted to do. and started filtrating the marketplace. And every time I look at myself, I go, who knew that this could come out of Uganda? And I'm like, I want to be the microphone for everyone that feels like they have life altering work, but they don't have the skills to be as good of a marketer, as good of a salesman, as good of whatever, famous, whatever people are looking for on the internet.
Speaking of internet, if I was to look up how to build your brand, what
Yeah.
what kind of advice that you're not going to get on the internet that people need to know?
I think my advice is very controversial with what is in the marketplace because a lot of people are trying to build a brand. They're trying to
Hmm.
build the big name brand. But what happens is behind the scenes, there's so much information in the marketplace that people don't care anymore. And people don't know who to trust. So now people look at what you're saying and they go, but who is this person? And what have they done? And if they don't know what you've achieved, they're like, no, that's another person making noise. What I find in the marketplace is that there's all this advice, build your brand, share value. And there is people doing that for years and nobody cares. And they pack their bags and they go home. People build a brand and build a brand, Chris, and build a brand until nobody cares. Because when people are looking for solutions, they're asking the question, who are you? And if you can't answer that question, what have you achieved? If you can't answer that question, they're out of the door. What I teach, though, is a tiny power brand, which is okay, Chris, how do we get clients now? How do we build that small thing that pays its bills? How do we get the clients in the door right now? How do we meet people where they are? How do we do the unscalable stuff so that we have enough runway to now go at the big brand? A lot of people do the big brand first and then they run out of runway emotionally, mentally, and financially. A lot of people who try to build a brand have been in the market for 6 years, and over the last 6 years, I have seen people come and go like I cannot begin to explain to you. How many people come with their talent and they just disappear because they're trying to build this mega brand, and that mega brand needs you to have the runway and the mental ability to keep going at it, even if it takes you 25 years. And a lot of people who are like me, who are doing their life's work, the brands we have inside us are so big. Like I look at Oprah and I go, she's not half the brand I'm trying to build. But guess what? That brand may take me 40 years to build. Now, in 40 years, if there's no one paying me, where are we? Are we in the market still? A lot of people don't have the bandwidth in their head, in their mind to keep running years and years later when nobody's paying them. So, really, what I like to show my people is all right, as you are right now, how do we get clients in the door? How do we pay the bills? How do we create the runway so that if you decide to go for the big brand, that you're doing it from a place of service and not because you have to pay your bills? Because when you have to pay your bills, a lot of things go sideways. How you show up changes if your bills depend on the next person who signs up. But if you take care of that, you can step in the market and you can serve. Because a lot of my people are mission driven entrepreneurs. You can serve from the heart because guess what? Even if no one pays you for the next 2 years, you're good. And that is the energy that people buy from.
So you're talking about a tiny brand, a tiny power brand. So that's kind of your
Yeah.
runway. That's the goal to get to the big brand, but you want to prepare it in a way that you're surviving through cash flow
Yeah.
and so forth, right? And then
Yeah.
eventually it'll become a bigger brand as time goes on. What's a tiny brand look like?
A tiny brand is I Prima with 5 clients. I Prima every day. I go on Facebook and I message 5 people and I sit with them and I talk to them one on one and see if I can help them. A tiny brand is you're doing the unscalable stuff. Instead of writing content to the world, You're talking to people one on one, and you're sitting with them in a Zoom room, and you're seeing if you can help them. A tiny brand is a small group you have, which is like 100 people that you're serving one on one, who are hiring you and paying you. A lot of people are trying to scale, they're trying to automate, they're trying to do all these things, but nobody cares about them. But there is this one on one thing. There is this person to person. There is someone in a Zoom room with another person, and those bonds are leading to sales. But everyone wakes up and they begin to automate everything, and they begin to scale everything, and they begin to have the brand and the podcast. And I'm like, really? And no one is paying them in the meantime. It's been a year, it's been 2 years. And I'm like, why don't you just scale down and be a human being on the internet and see if anybody's interested in that? So a tiny power brand is this brand that is tiny and not famous, but which is banking. You have
So
clients
a lot of
paying
my
you.
a lot of my listeners are contractors,
Mm.
and well, every business should be concerned about cash flow, and contractors are no different. What kind of brand can we build to help us in our local communities and really kind of lay that runway to become a bigger brand in the future?
Tell me more about what you do and how you do
Okay,
it.
well, contractors, they build, well, they can be a tradesman, like a plumber, electrician, heating and
Okay,
cooling, or a general
okay,
contractor, which does everything
okay,
and sub those out, or even commercial contractors who build buildings. But
okay.
if you're serving a certain area, then you want to
Hmm.
build a brand to some extent and reputation. Almost,
Hmm.
do you see branding as a reputation to some extent?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So if we were to take the example of a plumber, let's say that
Uh huh.
you were talking about plumbers who want to build a brand as a plumber. I think that for me, the best way for a plumber to build a brand is create a community about everybody that is interested in the plumbing stuff. And the community
Yeah.
is just people talking about one subject. It can be golfing, it can be piano, it can be plumbing, it can be whatever. The internet has allowed us to reach as many people as possible, even if the interest is like this small. And so for me, what I see as the best way to build a brand is to create a space where everybody who has that interest can come and facilitate a conversation. And off of that, open another space where people can pay for certain services, access to you and your help. But the first thing is to gather these people together and facilitate a conversation and have them talk to each other. People like buy services and all of the things, but what really people want is a belonging, it's a community, is to connect with other people. This is why when we go to like a business meeting or a business conference or wherever, there's all these speakers talking, and then there's break time. And in break time, I'm like, hey, I'm Prima, I'm from Uganda. What's your name? So I find that a lot of people magnify the business, but really for me, what I find most interesting is lunch hour and break time, where I get to connect with people. And so what I encourage my people to do is bring people in the community and amplify the break time and the lunch time. Facilitate that, what happens in the business meeting at lunch and break, and then the business will take care of itself. The business is the 20% and the people is the 80%. So if you can bring people together and facilitate that lunch hour or break hour in the community, the result is that there will be a percentage of people who want to go further with you and get access to you. And these people will pay you for whatever the services you have. But to bring them together is the best, is the simplest way to build a brand. Like the simplest way is to just gather these people in the community and then understand the monetization bit from there.
And you have a system called integrity selling.
Yeah.
And how does that work? Obviously, go with my plumber example, or anybody else for that matter. How? What do you mean by integrity selling? I mean, do what you say and do it and say what you do, or
Integrity selling is a system that honors how you're wired. So there's gurus on the internet with webinars and the perfect script and say this and this, and people will buy. And then there is
you know?
people who say a lot of things, write this copy, this heading, and people will buy. And then there is people to people kind of people. So there is a way that you would naturally sell if there wasn't all this hype about how you should do it. And so the integrity selling system is a system that honors how you like to sell. I am not a webinar person. I am not a perfect script person. I am not a hype person. I am not the guru person, but I'm a person to person. I'll sit with people and I will talk to them and I will meet them where they are and I will present my offer. I'm the kind of person who would love to sell in person. Let's sit on a bench. Let's talk about what you're going through and can I help you? So there is a lot of misconceptions when it comes to selling services and how you should do it and what you should say. And a lot of that, personally, when I start to use scripts, I used to feel like I wasn't me. I used to feel like, who is this person? And when I realized they don't work for me, I just dropped them. Now I sit and I listen to people and I ask questions and I say, you may want to hire me for this thing. And people buy. And so there is different ways to sell your system that may sound more like you. Like I tell my clients, if you hate video, don't do video. The goal is to communicate. How best can you do it? I have people that are so good with like content and they can write the best content. Give them a microphone and they will start sweating. And I'm like, then maybe you don't have to do that. If you can write your content and you can talk to people in DMs and you can jump on Zoom, sell like that. Like you don't have to sweat on live video if you hate it, because guess what? You're competing with someone like me who actually enjoys it. You see, so the integrity selling system is really going back to who you are and how you would naturally do something and trying to sell in the most natural way that you would sell, which is taking off all the pressure of being a salesman, because a lot of coaches, a lot of mentors, a lot of experts, they are really problem solvers. They're not salesmen. And so if you tax them to be a salesman, now they have to wear this hat of a salesman. Oh my God, I have to sell this person. But when you say no, when you write content, you're actually serving. When you sign somebody, you're actually serving. Think about a consultant. When your teeth have issues and you go to the consultant, does he sell you or does he just serve you? And so it's taking away this hat of a salesman, which most people see as the door-to-door, I don't know, used car salesman, into your problem solver. Let's just solve problems for people who are already looking for these answers. And so for me, it's a whole flip around. You have to sell, you have to market into like, what if it wasn't that? What if there was a way to just do it while honoring who you are without feeling like now you have to perform and become a marketer. Now you have to perform and be a salesman. Oh my God, and finally you get to deliver your life's work. What if you didn't have to do all those things? What if you could just sit and serve and people could hire you because you're a problem solver? And what if you didn't have to be a better marketer? What if you didn't have to?
Well, the hat that I want my listeners to wear is the CEO hat and get out of that day-to-day stuff, like the sales if they don't enjoy it. Uh, I'm all for if you enjoy sales, do the sales. If you enjoy doing the work, do the work. Find the people that do what they do best. So you could also, in your case, hire your salesman or have your salesman sell through integrity how you want your business to be represented through values and so forth. So you can be able to teach salesmen like that. And if you don't like that style of that particular salesman, you need to get another one. And if they're not willing to change, but the idea is to free them up.
Yeah, the idea is because most of my people are like solopreneurs, so it's all of
Yeah.
them doing all the work. And so for me, what I say is focus on what you enjoy doing and
Hmm.
try as much as possible not to be the person that you hate. Don't be the salesman, don't be the marketer. Try and see how you can talk about your work as a problem solver, how you can stay as the person that is delivering the service while finding a way to just help people through it. What if you didn't have to be a marketer? What if you didn't have to be a salesman? What if all of this was just helping people and explaining to them how the thing works? Like, what if there wasn't anything you're trying to do to sell? What if you didn't have to learn the script? What if you could just help somebody make a decision? What if there was another way to look at the selling and this marketing stuff? Like I have a podcast called The World's Best Kept Secret. And what I do is I sit down with these best kept secrets and I interview them through their work as if I were creating a VSL. I tell them, just sit in your genius, answer my questions, don't worry about it. And I ask the questions because I understand marketing and I understand selling. I ask the questions and I help them deliver their offer. But in their own way, they're just talking about their work. And we get that asset and put it in front of people. And all they have to do is get eyeballs to that asset, because I need them to just sit in their expertise. Like I don't need them trying to understand all the VSL and all the, I don't need them to understand that, because there is somebody who's gifted to do that stuff, which is what you were saying, like do your thing and let people do whatever they're good at. So there is so many ways to share your message with the world, and you didn't have to become everything. You don't have to understand everything about taxes and stuff. You can still run a business by getting somebody who knows how to do that thing to actually do that thing and help you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you teach us from Uganda.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm in Uganda, but there's no client of mine that is from Uganda. Unfortunately, people here still don't understand the work.
Sure.
I
How
guess,
do
yeah.
you get your brand out through the podcast? How do people find you?
People
How do
find
you
me on
promote
social media. People find me on podcasts like this. People will find me on my own podcast. People will find me, but a lot of people find me inside school because I build community for best kept secrets. So I teach what I practice. The best
Yeah.
kept secrets come together. It's just a different variety of entrepreneurs who are mission driven. They come together and they start helping each other. What's working for you when it comes to this, when it comes to this, when it comes to this? I do this thing, who do you know? It's kind of thing. And then they meet each other and they begin to exchange business. And in there, I can then sell my services, but I build community, which is how people find me.
One last question before we go. Talking about read my notes here. Marketing through divine timing. Divine
Yeah.
being divine being the good Lord, or divine being what?
Marketing through divine timing. So the people that I serve are mission driven entrepreneurs. What that
Mm-hmm.
means is that we are in business because we are called to be in business. What I am doing is my life's work. I'm not doing business for business. It's
Okay.
life's work. I'll give you an example. Somebody has gone through 10 divorces and has finally figured out how to heal through some stuff. I have gone through a lot of challenges that I've figured out how to get paid even if nobody knows you. Because that was me. I was from Uganda. Nobody knew me. The first transaction I tried to ever do, European banks were like screaming at the customer, there is someone in Uganda trying to scam your account. And they were like, no, she's not a scam. You know, like, how do you get paid when nobody knows you? That is something I have had to go through. And now I have templates and systems to show people that. Sometimes it is your own issue. Like you struggle so much with something that when you finally figure it out, you're like, I want to help people through this thing. So, what do I mean by divine timing? Divine timing is like my work exists because there is people who need it. A divorce coach exists because there's people splitting day and night. Somebody who is going to heal marriages exists because there is somebody right now crying, looking for help about their marriage. All these experts exist because there's a prayer, there's a call in the world. There is someone on their knees going, my God, I need help with this thing. So I believe that whatever people are being led to share is because there's a need in the market. Now, divine timing is There is you going in the market and trying to convince people that they need your help. But there is you going in the market and meeting the people that are ready. So I'll give you an example. If
Mm-hmm.
I was mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, and I had like fire burning in the house, I had like flames, some kind of smells. And I looked at my curtain and there was an angry fire at that curtain. And I was looking for, oh my God, I need this fire to go down. I need a fire extinguisher right now. And I was going to look for somebody to help me. And I went on Instagram or whatever. In that moment, am I going to look for who has the biggest followers and who has been posting content for the last 30? No. I am going to get the first person I meet and hire them to help me. And so this is what I mean by divine timing. Right now, there is a couple that is breaking house. And if
Mm-hmm.
they could get your advice, they could save their marriage. These people are not looking for a lead magnet. They're not looking for marketing. They are looking for somebody who can clearly say, I can help you. So marketing based on divine timing is talking to people who are ready, talking to people whose house is on fire, talking to people who are tired. People might be married today and you go, I can really help you proof, I don't know, soundproof, rainproof your marriage. And they look at you and go, what do you know about our love? And then you see these people 8 years later. And if you give them that solution, they'll probably just take you on face value. So there is a time and a place when a mother is giving birth that day and they're in labor, chances are whoever can do the job might get the job. There are problems that don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do is we want to understand how marketing works. You have your content in the market, you have everything in the market, but you have to understand that the client today is a client whose problem cannot wait anymore. I like to joke with my husband. He buys a lot of supplements, like a lot of vitamins and all of those things. And I never pick up those things. I know I need vitamins. The doctor keeps saying buy them. I never pick them up. And every time I'm talking to clients, I said, stop selling vitamins. Like, start selling painkillers to get people in the door. When we go back to the example of the fire extinguisher, the person with the fire extinguisher is getting the job. And that fire extinguisher could come from a man who is homeless, who just happened to be inside when my curtains were on fire. I might as well grab that, save my house, and think about the homeless man later. But if this man is in the house, and if he can do a good job helping me put out the fire, chances are the next morning he'll have a tea, and I'll be like, hey, by the way, I never got to know your name. And chances are there's a conversation that's going to happen. And if this man has a plan, maybe he's going to sell me the fire, I don't know, the fire prevention system, which
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to sell unless you have the fire extinguisher, if it makes sense. So being there when people's houses are on fire and saying, I have the fire extinguisher, and getting your feet in the door because you're not famous, you don't have the millions of followers, you don't have the, I don't know, 100 million exit. So how do you get in the door? By having the fire extinguisher when people's fire houses on fire. And going back to divine timing, sometimes, Chris, you will be in a bad marriage, and then a bad marriage, and then a bad marriage, and then God will give you a slap. And he will say, you know what, Chris? Today is the day when you work on your trauma and you get a divorce. And suddenly you have an opening to do the trauma, which you haven't done for 20 years. You will be in a job and you'll be just there, tired of it, whatever. Or you will think, oh, I need to find my mission. I need to find my purpose. And you're like, yeah, tomorrow, next year. And then you get laid off. God says, you know what, Chris? Now is the time to find your purpose. And you know how he does that? You lose your job and you go, oh my God, I'm 40, I'm 60. I've just lost my job of 30 years. What is my purpose? So what do I mean by divine timing? Sometimes we'll get like run over by the spiritual train, and you'll be forced to do work that you wouldn't do if that safety belt hadn't moved off. So, knowing when people are ready for the work and speaking to that moment and letting people in so that you can now pave the path for the longer work. But I think to understand this, there has to be a level of the person that understands the universe or divine or God at least, because it's like some of this work is happening to us because there is something that we are being called to see, which we wouldn't see if we don't lose whatever we are holding. So, the marketing based on divine timing is when you talk to people who have an opening and are ready for the work, because this work doesn't happen unless there's an opening. No, nobody wants to fix their business sometimes until everyone is churning, until their revenues are dipping. Everything is fine until the husband cheats, and oh my God, no, we have a problem. Yeah, but you've had that problem for years. You just didn't wake up to it. And now someone is cheating, and you're suddenly awake for what can you do to fix your marriage. So I think that a lot of this is when you start to talk to people who have an opening to solve a problem, you don't need to sell. When my house is on fire and you're holding a fire extinguisher, there's no conversation. Fix it. And we can talk about that bill later. But for now, just fix it. Like, I don't care how much it is. So a lot of people have to sell and convince and cajole and manipulate because they are talking to somebody whose house is not yet on fire. You know what, Chris, your house may get on fire. It's a new house, you love it. I think you need to buy the fire system. Oh, there's another guy holding a fire extinguisher and your curtains are blazing, and that conversation looks different.
It does.
Yeah.
Prima, thank you. If anybody would like to contact Prima, her link will be in the show notes below. You can also contact me with the show notes below at the link. Get your 30-minute free breakthrough session. We can talk about putting out fires. You can talk with me about that, or you can talk to Prima, either one of us. And also, you can also join our Facebook group, Hard Hat CEO. Get at that daily grind, and let's get into becoming that CEO hard hat. Or excuse me, that CEO hat. Get rid of that hard hat, kind of like what Prima was talking about. No more sales hats. All right. Thank you, Prima, again. You guys have a wonderful week, and we